by far one of the most horrific that I've seen. We all witnessed a true miracle because she shouldn't be here.
From one of the most violent, heartbreaking crashes you can imagine to a faith-filled, heartwarming comeback story, which is far from over. 6 months ago, Kelley Wyatt of Bossier City was making a drive she's taken countless times, the road home up Airline Drive. Now she's on the road to recovery, a chance to reclaim her life, a life that was nearly taken from her in a head-on crash, a life she's living today, family says, because of our small world and how it delivered one heck of a miracle. There is little here along Bossier City's Airline Drive to remind us of a September 4th violent crash, except for a few faint orange markings made by investigators the night of the wreck.
Kelley has no memory of anything for months before the wreck.
And nothing to even remind the person behind the wheel that night, Jeff Wyatt's wife, Kelley.
You got it.
Of just how violent the crash was, being hit head-on by an alleged drunk driver.
Just nice and slow.
Except for weeks later, after coming out of a coma and trying to grasp why.
Beautiful.
Why she was in the hospital, unable to walk,
2, 3,
or talk.
Not only did she have a traumatic brain injury where her brain sheared with a twist and it damaged her brain stem, but she's had 7 surgeries in her left leg, multiple burn surgeries, multiple neurological procedures, double vision. She's had her whole left arm completely rebuilt.
Or memory of just how close she came to losing her life.
One of the SICU nurses told me that if I want to come back and see her, it didn't look good. They said, have you thought about organ donation and what you're going to do?
It was late in the day, the Sunday of the Labor Day weekend. Kelley was headed home, and we can only assume at this point she never saw it coming.
Well, usually for the most part, we hear a screech, hitting the brakes.
Lynn Young and her husband Brian were sitting in their living room watching TV.
Just a huge explosion.
Their home backs up to Airline Drive. They tell me in their 3 decades of living here, they've heard countless accidents out here.
We heard this horrific noise. We jumped up, opened the back door.
But with this one, there were no brakes screeching, no anticipation of what was about to happen.
And that's what it was. It was an explosion.
Instinct took over for Lynn.
I am a certified paramedic. I don't work in the field. I teach.
She jumped in her car and drove the block or so to the crash scene as Brian called 911.
911, further thing. I'm calling about a wreck on Airline Drive. A block north of Brownlee.
His call, one of many that began pouring in.
And I went over, and I could see a person in there, and I immediately assessed for a pulse. And I didn't have one.
Lynn then said she quickly walked around the car, looking inside, worried others may be trapped, but saw no one else. She says that's when a man walked up and checked for a pulse again.
I remember asking him, do you have a pulse? And he said, yes. I knew there wasn't anything I could do because the way she was pinned in that vehicle, I mean, everything was on her chest.
At least nothing more medically.
I noticed she had a ring on her finger. I knew that she had a family. And so I just leaned down and I started talking to her, and I just told her that she had to hang on. I know that somewhere there's a family that loves you.
The accident scene was just blocks from Fire Station number 9 on Brownlee Road.
And then I saw the lights on the fire truck. And I think I said a little harder, ma'am, they're on their way. You got to hang on.
Lynn says it took a half hour, maybe longer, for firefighters to carefully free Kelley while also working to keep her breathing.
And when they got her out and they put her on the stretcher, I didn't think she was still alive. I don't know, it's just emotional. By far, one of the most horrific that I've seen.
Horrific and emotional. even to some of the people on scene in uniform that night. We've almost come to take for granted our first responders. They rush to the scene, they save the day, and then calmly move on to the next emergency. Well, newsflash, they're people too. I contacted one of the firefighters here at Station 9 who led the rescue that night. He kindly declined interview, now retired. He tells me this was one of the worst wrecks he had ever seen, and he feared he couldn't put two sentences together without completely losing it.
So they worked on her for 45 minutes and didn't realize it was her.
One reason for such overwhelming emotions, some of the firefighters that night had no idea they actually knew the critically injured driver trapped inside her car.
The guys on scene that have traveled with us, have been friends, close friends, the way that her cuts were on her head and things, the blood very vascular, her hair was stuck to her face. One of the guys didn't even recognize her until they saw the driver's license when she drove off in an ambulance.
Now retired from duty himself, Jeff spent 18 years with the Bossier City Fire Department.
I love my firemen. I've always been there for my firemen. And this time they were there for me, and I really appreciate it.
It's taken numerous medical procedures and intense therapy to literally get Kelley to this point, back on her feet again. It's not easy. The balance, the brain communicating clearly with her muscles.
I remember the day Kelley came to the hospital.
Dr. Randy Dubill is one of Kelley's therapy doctors at Baylor, Dallas.
You know, traumatic brain injury really disrupts nearly everything about your life. It's your control center, right? It drives your emotions, your thoughts, impacts your physical movements, strength.
Look at you, girl. A big smile. I like the smiles.
She calls Kelley's progress both surprising and amazing. But with every positive step taken in her physical progress, we have to understand the emotional reality that has slowly set in for Kelley as well.
One of the first things she said to me is what did I do to make God mad at me? And I instantly said, God can't be mad at you. God can't be mad at anyone. I think that she's processing that the emotional roller coaster that she went through with God and understanding that something good's going to come of this.
Along for Kelley's spiritual progress, her church family, who on Sunday held a fundraiser to help with the financial reality that has also quickly set in.
We love you, Kelley. Keep fighting. God is with you.
And it hasn't gone unnoticed.
I'm so thankful because there have been a lot of prayers said for me, and I appreciate it so much.
Thankful for the help and the prayers, and as Jeff sees it, thankful the crash happened so close to so many of his friends on duty.
The night of the accident, the people that arrived on the scene was no accident.
And practically in Lynn Young's backyard.
Because if it was my child, I would have wanted to know that somebody was with them in such a horrific accident.
I think God put her there for a reason. And I think that Lynn was there and comforted Kelley when she was scared and not knowing what was going on. It means the world to me.
Talk about your small worlds, Lynn and Jeff are old friends as well. The Wyatts tell me they have so many people they want to thank, from their church, Cypress Baptist, firefighters, police officers, staff at University Health in Shreveport, the therapist in Dallas. It would read like movie credits on the screen to get them all in, so just know you are thanked. And you too can help, as this family literally manages 2 households in 2 states. A GoFundMe account has been set up. We've got a direct link to that GoFundMe account on our website. Just look under links in the news at KSLA.com.